welcome back to the SportsMax Zone. Greeting you heartily on this Monday, September 27, 2021, the day on which a jury found R. Kelly, the legendary R&B singer and songwriter, guilty on racketeering and sex trafficking charges, bringing to end a long-running saga detailing abuse of black women and children. And R. Kelly will know his sentence in a few weeks' time. Well, we're talking about sport on this show, and we bowl things off with cricket, where the president of Cricket West Indies, Ricky Skerritt, is urging the region to throw its full support behind the team picked for the ICC T20 World Cup, which starts on October 17. The selectors have produced a fit-for-purpose squad, is what Ricky Skerritt says, which is a rich mixture of experienced leadership, proven match winners, and youthful talent. For the first time for years, the selectors had good options within a growing pool of exciting West Indian talent. The CWI boss went on to say, a successful World Cup journey requires that all of us who love and support the game and who have seriously studied the fortunes of West Indies cricket come together and send positive vibes to Captain Pollard and the members of his squad, no matter what. Well, the Windies 15-man squad reads, just refreshing your memory, Kieron Pollard, the skipper Evan Lewis, Pooran, McCoy, Allen, Rampal, Bravo, the Dwayne Bravo, Andre Russell, Chase, Simmons, Fletcher, Thomas, Gale, Hayden Walsh Jr., and Shimron Hetmeyer, and they'll be supported by 4 travelling reserves, Darren Bravo, Sheldon Cottrell, Jason Holder, and Akil Hussain. Joining us on the zone now to talk about the call by Cricket West Indies is the organization's Vice President, Dr. Kishore Shallow. Dr. Shallow, good afternoon. Welcome back to the program, sir.
Good afternoon, George. Good afternoon, Lance, as well, in the studio with you.
Excellent. Dr. Shallow, I was saying to Lance in our preamble to today's show that it seems a rather curious thing for a cricket boss, as Ricky Skerritt is, to see it needful to make the call. What do you and by extension him, what do you both assess the conditions around the team and the narrative around the team to be to necessitate such a move by him to make this call, and of course your appearance here on the zone to reinforce that message?
Well, it has not been unusual for President Ricky Skerritt to engage our stakeholders. One of the things that we spoke about initially in 2019 is, building or rebuilding that relation with the stakeholders. And, this is not divorced from that in isolation from that in any way. So President just, obviously he will be quite familiar with the sensitive nature of selections, and we listen. We have been hearing, different opinions and so on, and we just wanted to remind stakeholders that this is just bigger than 1 or 2 individuals or players. This is about 18 players plus management going to a World Cup to defend the champion and represent the entire region, a massive responsibility. And we just wanted to urge them to let us rally, let us support these gentlemen who are going out to represent us. And I think that is exactly what the president did in his press release.
Correct you are that Ricky Skerritt, since he has come into office, has been accessible to the media and has spoken with stakeholders right across the spectrum. You too have been accessible. But I just want to push it a little further, Dr. Shallow, to say that, it smacks of, well, it smacks of, it appears like more than just the regular call that the president would make to a stakeholder group, i.e. the fans. It would appear as if perhaps the criticism around this squad picked, that the level of vitriol around it is such that the president himself is looking to diffuse the situation and perhaps dissipate or allow to dissipate some of the bad vibes around the team. And that is why he's making this studied intervention at this point when emotions are still running high over those selected and those omitted.
Well, it's good leadership, being proactive, and before it gets to, a stage where, it starts affecting players who are going to represent us. Is the president saying very early, let us remember the main purpose here. Let us go out with our team to the World Cup. These guys, yes, you believe that 1 or 2 players should have been selected, but the bigger picture is we do have a team going out to represent us. And I think that is what the president wanted to do very early, before this got, out of control probably, and so on. And again, good leadership shown by Ricky Skerritt.
Right. And so in that vein, and with the president, as you've said, listening and recognizing that the temperature around the team and the discourse perhaps not favorable at this time, could it be that Cricket West Indies then asks certain players, the senior ones especially within the setup, led by the captain of course, to perhaps deliver their own message in their own words? Because if it is that Ricky Skerritt believes his words can help, one would suggest that the players would be in a position to make an even more direct impact with the fans, to say, forget about those who aren't here, forget about the controversies about those who are here, and rally the team. Is this something that Cricket West Indies will look to do between now and when the tournament starts proper on October 17th?
From my interaction with the management and players, they are very focused on the job at hand. They are not bothering with the noise. They are just, they're happy to see everything that the leader. They have been preparing for this. Some of the guys are already engaged in Dubai playing IPL. Others are just preparing with the training and so on before they depart the Caribbean. And their focus is on winning the World Cup for the West Indians across the world. And we want to encourage them to continue with that focus. So I think within the team itself, there's a very good team spirit. They have been building this for months, preparing for this final hurdle of the challenges before that final and in the World Cup. And, they're ready. They're not distracted by any of this, and again, their experience is very professional. You look at someone like a Chris Steele, been around for years, and he would have, obviously been through this before. And so the other players, and they would just be reminding each other to stay focused and represent.
Dr. Shallow, two things. One, I mentioned at the top of the show that the sort of discontent and criticism of this squad is a little bit more than average. I know that no team selection is met with open arms, and I, for one, as a journalist, I never usually condemn selectors on their performances, because they have a job to do and they are looking at things that sometimes the average fan doesn't look at. But let me ask you first, do we accept that the level of discontent in this selection process is a little bit more than we have seen in recent years?
Well, it's a World Cup, and World Cup, obviously the interest is greater than a normal series, so we expect that. Also, I think there was some misunderstanding, and maybe still some misunderstanding of the fitness policy. So when lead selector Roger Harper would have explained why one or two players might have missed out and others got exemption, then there was some concern expressed by some stakeholders, and that is fair, right? What we have to do as Cricket West Indies is explain. Yes, we have explained it before, we have placed it on our website, but it helps if we continue to sensitize stakeholders about what the policies actually is about, and I think, for those sort of factors, those different dynamics, probably what cause what may seem as heightened interest. But, we expect it, Lance, and again, that is why the president has, put out this release to just remind our stakeholders, remind our colleagues that, it is really about representing the region and the 18 players and management who are going out to represent us.
Yeah, you know what? You just mentioned Roger Harper explaining some of the issues while the press conference was being staged to release the squad name. But to be honest, there were points in the press conference that he sort of deferred some of the questions regarding the medical test and so on, suggesting that wasn't his area of expertise. So to suggest that he handled that in the press conference is not exactly accurate, Dr. Shallow, because he pretty much fended that off to say that the medical people had their procedures to deal with, and he wasn't in a position to handle a lot of the questions. So having said that, do you think that Cricket West Indies has a job to do in probably explaining more clearly to the fans exactly what these tests are about? Because a lot of people were at a loss as to how some players they were seeing playing, looking fit and ready in the CPL, and then being told that they failed fitness tests.
There's absolutely nothing wrong with explaining. And I mean, yes, I understand Roger's position. I was on the press conference myself. I listened to his responses. And, he would not have done justice maybe to to the fitness policy and explaining it to the selection, to the stakeholders or those present at the press conference, which is why he opted to pass on that responsibility to our medical personnel. And in due course, that will happen. You will have someone from the medical panel engaging the media and the general public.
Yeah, having said that, over the weekend we saw Andre Russell damaging his hamstring for the umpteenth time. Is there any word on his fitness with the World Cup less than 4 weeks away?
It doesn't seem as though there's a great concern now, but him and the other players, they are very conscious that they have a World Cup to play in a matter of days, and they are taking precautions, managing the workload well, and that is something they are all quite aware of playing while playing the IPL just before the World Cup.
In terms, Dr. Shallow, of the selection, just clarify for us. Persons have been asking, what does the captain play an active role in the selection of the players, or does he just get the final list of players selected from the chief selector like everybody else?
The captain is not a selector, but he's consulted by the selection panel. So he would sit in most of the meetings, but he would not have a final say in the squad selected. However, once the team is selected, let's say at the World Cup, then he becomes a selector to pick the final 11 and so on. But he's not a selector of the squad.
Right. So you say he sits in on meetings of the selection panel to pick a touring team, or in this case, he would have sat in on, is it that he would have sat in on meetings upon request? Is it that he would expect that he would sit in on the meetings, or is it that he would have been maybe consulted on a one-to-one basis by the chief selector rather than in a room or in the space with all of the selectors together making the selections? Just clarify that bit first.
In most cases, it is quite normal for the lead selector of any of our panel, whether it's the male or the female, to invite the captains to be part of the discussion while selecting the squad.
Right. So, but I'm trying to nail down if I'm the captain. So if I'm Kyron Pollard, then we're going back in time. If I'm Kyron Pollard, I should reasonably expect that at the point where the squad is going to be selected, that I should get a call from the chief selector to say, hey, this is happening, we want your input. That's what you're saying.
And to my knowledge, that has always happened since the policy was in.
Well, I'm asking because in certain cases, not necessarily just the West Indies, Dr. Shallow, where the captain is a part of the selection panel. You were clear in what you said that the captain is not a part of our selection panel, but is consulted. I just wanted to know the quality of the consultation. Is it on a direct basis, meaning the selection panel head?
Meaning that the captain, whether it's Pollard, Brathwaite, or Taylor, in terms of the female, they all sit in selection meetings while the squads are being selected.
Right. That's what was clarifying. So they expect that they should sit there, and it is expected that they are part of those deliberations. Fine. So I'm saying again, we all are aware of how people feel about this squad, and as Lance said, there will never be total harmony around any squad selected. Persons will have their favorites. Persons will have their biases. The selectors can't have that. Don't you think, though, that it really would help Cricket West Indies if it is that perhaps you ask the captain to offer a message of solidarity to the Cricket West, to the fans of this region, to ask them to get behind the team for the World Cup, since it is that our president, the cricket board president, has seen it so important to issue such a call himself. I'm saying to you as a journalist, Dr. Shallow, I see nothing wrong with asking our captain to do that if indeed the issue is so important that Mr. Skerritt sees it fit to issue a similar message.
George, absolutely no doubt that our PR team has plans in terms of how they communicate messages going into the World Cup, and getting fans on board and so on. So I'm sure that they already have the activities planned. I'm sure some of them probably listening now, and if they didn't have this as a consideration before, they would definitely consider what sounds like a suggestion from you.
Very well. Well, let's hope it can be done. Again, you know, this, for us as practitioners, we hear the noise, we hear some good points amid the noise, and I don't know anybody anywhere who believes that there'll be a West Indies squad announced at any time where everybody will say, yes, this is the perfect 14 or the perfect 13. There'll always be arguments around it. And no effort should be spared in trying to take the negativity away from the squad as they go on such an important mission. Thank you very much today, Dr. Shallow. All the best to you, and we'll catch up again.
Thanks, George. Thanks, Lance. Take care.
Good. That's Dr. Kishore Shallow.
Interesting discussion there, George, that you had pushing the role of the captain, Kieron Pollard in the selection meetings, because as Dr. Shallow pointed out, he is consulted, but he doesn't have a vote. Yes. He doesn't have a role as a selector.
Yes.
Yeah, but you know, the selection panel at the moment is the coach, Simmons.
So Phil,
Miles Bascom and Roger Harper, who's the chairman of selection. Now, I suspect, given what we have seen with this squad, that coach Simmons and the captain Kieron Pollard probably had very strong views about this squad, and in my opinion appear to have gotten their way. I will say this much. Chris Gayle has been a contentious selection for several months now because of his declining form. Kieron Pollard had announced months ago, 5-6 months ago, that he wants Chris Gayle at the World Cup, and he's the captain of the team. I don't have a difficulty with a captain getting what he wants because he's the person that has to work with the tools given to him. But it seems fairly obvious to me when I look at the squad that Kieron Pollard pretty much got his way here, because he said from day one that Chris Gayle is going to the World Cup. He needs his experience and so on. And even though there have been a lot of fans who feel that Chris Gayle hasn't shown enough form and from a performance standpoint to go to the World, it doesn't seem to me as if, well, Roger Harper admitted in the interview we had with him that it was a hot debate. It was highly discussed and highly debated in the selection meeting. And it just seems to me that the captain got a lot of what he wanted.
Well, that's why I was pushing the point. Well, that's why I put the point on the table, because knowing Kieron Pollard and his personality and his force of personality and the respect he has within the game and the respect he has within our cricket, our cricket setup, I would expect and come to the same conclusion that you have, that he did get his way. The fact is that I wanted to establish that the selections are as much a reflection of what our captain wants as much as what the selectors in their own wisdom believe is the right combination. And by virtue of the consultative role that he has and the fact that he's in the room when the discussions are taking place, the cricket fans who are complaining about what the selectors have done must also say, well, the captain knows what he wants for battle. And knowing the force of personality that Pollard has, and we respect him for it, he would have also ensured that he got much, if not all, of what he wanted for that battle. That's a point I was trying to nail down. All right? We take a break. We come back with more of the SportsMax Zone.